RTRFM 92.1. Paul Van Lieshout with you today. Part of this year's federal budget has allocated funds to the National School Chaplaincy Program. The program, which funds school chaplains providing spiritual guidance and is currently facing a High Court challenge, will continue for another 5 years at a cost of $245.3 million. Since it started, the program has drawn critics such as the Education Union, which believes it undermines the secular tradition of state schools. They're not the only ones unhappy about it. We caught up with Jane Caro earlier today. Jane, why are you passionate about this idea?
Well, because I think that it is very important that we maintain the secular tradition in public schools, which means that they are not anti any religion but not pro any religion. And the problem with the chaplaincy program is that it has now been again restricted by this federal government to Christian chaplains only, which means the previous government allowed secular chaplains to also participate in the program. That's now been stopped. And the thing is that the whole point of a public school system is that it's accepting of everybody, and it prioritises no one, and it prioritises no set of beliefs. It doesn't reject any set of beliefs, but nor does it set one religion up above anyone else's or anyone's lack of belief in a religion. And that is extremely important if we want a system which feels completely accepting of everyone.
Diversity in schools. Public schools, I think especially, have a very diverse student population. Do you think chaplains will be able to cope with this? What happens if, a Muslim walks in seeking support, or a gay man?
Well, I'm sure that some of the chaplains will be absolutely terrific. I don't doubt for a minute that lots of them are great. But that's not the point. The principle here is that they must be chaplains from a Christian faith background. Now, if they're not going to impose their Christian faith, if that's not the point of the program, then why does that have to be so? You see that it's contradictory, basically. Now, and it's very weird because the actual guidelines for the chaplaincy program say that the chaplains are not permitted to proselytise or to attempt to convert. So, again, it seems absurd, if that is truly the intention, that they should have to be restricted to one religious denomination. It makes you very suspicious of them, sadly. Any kind of incongruity like that raises our fears.
What role do you think religion should have in public schools?
I think the kids should be taught the history of religion. They should be taught about the world's religions in the same way as they're taught history of other things and literature from other cultures and all that kind of thing. And I certainly think that there's nothing wrong with students having voluntary organisations which they can join if they're Christian students or Muslim students or Jewish students or atheist students. I don't really mind. All that kind of thing is absolutely fine. But I think any compulsion around religion, and even systems where kids are compelled to opt out if they don't want to be part of it, like scripture, for example, is not true to the secular tradition of public education, which is that it is not of religion. It is not against religion, but it must not be seen to proselytise. Or to prioritise any one religion above another. That's not its purpose.
Kylie Caddo from the WA Council of State School Organisations says, in WA, state schools have a choice between a school chaplain and a student welfare worker. Do you think that there should be that choice in schools?
No, because I think there's not a school that I've ever come across that didn't need a student welfare worker. But I can't see the point of a chaplain very much. I mean, it's fine if a school wants a chaplain, and maybe they should be able to have one. But I don't think it should be either or between a student welfare officer and a chaplain. I mean, imagine you brought up the examples of a Muslim child having to go to a Christian chaplain for spiritual support. But what about a child who may be struggling with issues of sexual attraction or pregnancy or all sorts of things? The very fact that the chaplain is Christian will immediately make them worry that there is going to be some judgment, that there is going to be some condemnation, and there is going to be limited numbers of options offered to them simply because of the beliefs of that particular religion. It shuts down the very thing that should be opened up, which is this idea in a student welfare worker of no judgment, listening, letting the student work out for themselves what might be the best solution to their problem and supporting them in that. People who come from a firm religious background have very strong beliefs about these things, and that's what secular parents worry about.
So what do you think that this means for social workers and psychologists at schools?
Well, I've already been in contact with certainly one in Victoria who told me that since the budget had come down, 3 of the schools that she's been working for have contacted her and said that they're desperately searching for a loophole by which they can keep her working with the often very troubled students that she's working with. She's a professional child behaviourist, and she just said to me, you know, the problem is even the most well-meaning chaplains in the world, given the level of issues that some of my students are dealing with, are they going to be able to help them? Which is an excellent question, because actually they're not actually supposed to help them, because the other stricture on the chaplains, which is an absurd one, is they're not supposed to counsel students. So I guess they're sort of there to go, oh, hey, did it turn out all right in the end? Well, you know, that's not going to help a kid who's seriously troubled or has serious behavioural issues. And schools, particularly public schools, particularly those schools that are struggling with very high numbers of kids with issues in their background, need really good, strong professional help to deal with the level of difficulty. And a well-meaning amateur is not going to cut it.
Jane Caro, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.